and welcome back to my podcast series, The Chatty Ramble. My guest today is the wonderful Emily Atlantis Wolf. And I'm the other side of the globe today. So all my ones so far have been in the UK. But Atlantis, as we call her, is in Cleveland, Ohio. Is that right, Atlantis?
Yep.
So thank you so much for agreeing to join me on the Chatty Ramble. As listeners will know, could go in all kinds of directions, and with Atlantis and I, it could cover anything from skulls to shamanism to dragons, because that's how we met. It's gonna go, it could go anywhere. So, would you like to introduce yourself to our listeners? Because obviously, you know you better than I do.
Well, thank you so much, Caroline. Yes, I am absolutely delighted to be here and sitting with you. I actually feel like I've talked to you every day because I just finished your 30-day meditation challenge. And for anyone who hasn't taken it, I just can't recommend it enough. It's such a delightful walk through so many different kinds of meditations and ways to do it and practices. And it's so clear that you're bringing your 30 years of meditation mastery into that project, and I really can't tell people enough. Please keep keep it on your radar. The next time it's being offered, make sure you take advantage of that. So I'm
Thank you.
Atlantis Wolf. You're welcome. And I am a professional healer and teacher. I live in Cleveland, Ohio. If you know anything about the States, think about the line between New York City and Chicago. And I'm closer to Chicago. So I'm in the Great Lakes area. It's not really the Midwest, it's really the Great Lakes because it's not exactly in the middle, but close enough. I live on Lake Erie, one of the 5 Great Lakes, freshwater lakes here in the United States, between the United States and Canada, the largest body of fresh water in the world, as a matter of fact. It was formed when the ice age came down. It came all the way down to Mexico, and as it retreated, it pulled up like raking fingers all of the soil, and they actually melted here. And that's why we have fresh water. They're melted glaciers, and that's why we have so much farming because of all the minerals and the mineral rich soil that was pulled up here. So my shamanic lineage is in the Seneca Wolf clan practice, meaning out of the 500 nations in the United States, one of them was called the Seneca. They happen to be the one who never gave up their ancestral land to the European settlers. They have 3 big pieces of land in New York, all original territories. So Grandmother Twyla was the head of the Wolf clan, and she passed her lineage to my teacher, Star Wolf. So I'm only one teacher away from the original teachings, and I carry that very proudly. And I know that a lot of people have feelings about shamans, shamanism, and using the word, but I can point to my lineage and say, I've been studying that. I continue to study it. And as I think everyone should, it's not about I learned it, I'm done, I'm out. I also have 2 teachers in the lineage of Sandra Ingerman. Now, she is a very popular shaman teacher. She lives in New York City. She's been doing this for probably 45 years. Honestly, she's the first person that I have met that I even knew about the word shaman, which was at the Wake Up Festival in 2012 in Estes Park, Colorado, about 2 hours west of Denver, Colorado. And it was a gathering of people by Sounds True Publishing Company. So they are the people that are publishing authors, poets, spoken word artists, and things like that. And she was there, and I did my first shamanic journey with her. She's actually a psychologist, so her background is in human psychology. And she did drumming workshops, she did a shamanic journey workshop, and she's very accessible. So if you're thinking, I want to go dip my toe into shamanism, any of her books would be a great place to start. She's written probably 10 books and has CDs and things that you can listen to. But she's very traditional in her shamanic teaching, which I like. So it's greeting the morning sun, greeting the evening sun, giving you a way to reveal your practice to yourself because shaman means one who sees in the dark. meaning into the spirit
Oh.
world.
So what was her name again?
Sandra, Sandra, Ingerman, Ingerman. And
Sandra Ingerman.
she started the Shamanic Studies Foundation maybe 30 years ago. She's one of the only people I know that certifies teachers. So you can find her certified teachers around. But if I was going to recommend one person, it would absolutely be her. She's so steady. She's so knowledgeable. She's so careful. And again, very accessible. She doesn't make anything feel far away. She makes it feel like, oh, sure, it's easy. Just do this, go out in nature, think about how you feel at the full moon and at the new moon. And everything about her feels easy and inviting. And that's what I like about her a lot. So I take my background in civil engineering, which I was told you have to be an engineer by my dad because he's an engineer, and do that, and then say, I don't really want to do that. I want to be an English major. And he said, tough beans. So I dual majored in English and civil engineering and minored in environmental engineering, and then went on to do civil engineering assessments and move into technical writing because I was always going to be a writer. And from there, got into project management work, which is like being the mom at a company. And I worked for Charles Schwab, I worked for banks, I worked for some big companies. And then my mom died. And I thought, this is not what I want to do. Life is too short. So I quit and I went to massage school and became a medical massage therapist, which I've been doing for the last 14 years. And again, it's that curiosity. I have this rolling, constant curiosity. So I became a Reiki master from William Lee Rand, the guy who actually founded the International School for Reiki. I went on to do kinesiotaping, like the tape that you see on the Olympic athletes and stuff like that. I'm a practitioner in that. It was like everything that I could. And then I went to the Gathering of Shamans, had this big experience with the breath work, and spent the last 5 years becoming a master breathwork facilitator. So now I go around the world doing breathwork, shamanic breathwork, and cacao ceremonies because that is my big magic. That's where I can bring all of my skills and experience, all of my shamanic initiations, kids, divorce, bankruptcy, losing my mom, holding her hand, all of these things, losing 85 pounds. Like I've been through so many different kinds of life journeys that it's prepared me to speak to people that have also had a similar journey or they're in the middle of it. And my goal is to take my magic out into the world because I'm a very happy dragon. I like my cave. I like to be at home. I like to stay tucked in and small, but I've been getting the message for the last 2 years. We're pushing you out of the cave. You need to be a little more bold, a little more seen, or walk on some bigger stages because the world is waking up and we need people like you to guide other people who are waking up in a way that feels safe so that you can feel good about letting go of your relationships or working through your past trauma or your childhood trauma, things that make you uncomfortable. The things you think you could just sort of keep living and then you'll forget about, and they keep coming back around and around and around and around. And so that's what I do.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because of how our work mirrors each other, because that's a lot of the work that I do, that the dragons have brought in. It's like, for me, they were the teachers of the shadow work. I didn't realize until I've been doing it about working with my own shadow. I've been doing it about 10 years. Then I heard the phrase shadow work, and then I started thinking, what is it? And then I started digging and then found shadow work. I thought, oh, that's what I do. That's what I do with the dragons. Oh, it's got a name, is it? That's what it's called.
Well, I had a conversation yesterday, and somebody was interviewing me to be on their podcast, and I said something shadow work because Pluto's here until 2044. We're doing this collective planetary shadow work. Pluto's the lord of the underground. And so whether you walk into the shadow or whether you're dragged into the shadow, it is happening until 2044. She said, oh, I don't think we can use the word shadow work because I don't want to scare anyone. And I said, excuse me, I feel like it's important to know what is happening? And she was like, well, we could talk about it with just like a mindset or something a little more gentle. I said, no. I said, it's half of you. Your shadow is half of you. You're half light, half shadow. You need to know this is a thing.
Wow.
So here's my question to you, because I was thinking about this today. How do you know that you are in shadow work?
Oh yeah, it's all those things that trigger you and push your buttons, isn't it?
Yes.
Anything where you go with the screaming abdabs, bursting into tears, have a complete bloody hissy fit in the supermarket, swear at the driver down the road that's just cut
Yeah.
you up, or you're going full on anxiety, stress. It's all shadow work, whatever it is, anything that makes you uncomfortable. I
Yes.
don't like that feeling. So you head for the biscuit tin. That's
Right.
shadow work.
It is. And I think that people misunderstand because they think that shadow work is like, I have to go to the mountain and go to an ashram and I have to go away somewhere and then I can look at my shadow. I'm like, no, it's literally in the choice you make. Am I going to grab a pint of ice cream or am I going to grab dried mangoes? Like in the moment when you are feeling, I always call it when I'm wearing my grumpy pants. If I'm wearing my grumpy pants, if nothing's going my way, and I'm spoiled, I'll be honest. Like I feel like I kind of flow through life really well. I feel connected to spirit, intuition, guides, and things like that. So I'm spoiled because I do feel like in general my life just sort of swims along, and so I get very grumpy when things don't go my way. If something, if just you name it, it could be the smallest thing. I don't have time to go for a walk before I have to take care of something. I have to get up too early, and I don't have my 15 minutes to lay in bed. That is shadow work. That is when you're facing the part of you that is saying, this is not easy.
And it doesn't have to be really painful. That's what I've discovered.
No.
You don't have to go poking at past traumas and stuff, although that too is shadow work, isn't it?
Yep.
And you do that with a trained therapist.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for the lay person to go and do, in my experience, and about people that I know who are professionals in that work.
Mm-hmm.
However, there's an awful lot of work you can do for yourself in your shadow just by having, for me, it's three things. It's reflection, self-reflection,
Mm-hmm.
self-accountability, and awareness.
Yes.
And if you've got those three things, you can actually do so much of your own work just with those three things.
I agree. And that's always going to be true. And that's a constant practice. It's not something that you do once. It's something that when you gain a practice in looking at those three things, then you do it again and again. And the counterpoint is that if you don't know what brings you pleasure, what will pull you out of that, like when you have the awareness, ooh, I'm not in a good place. The reflection is, I didn't give myself enough sleep, or I didn't take care of myself in some way. So now that you have that awareness, it's like, okay, now what am I going to do about it? What brings me back into balance? And without pleasure work, without knowing what makes you happy, not somebody else. It's like
Ah,
this is a very tricky thing because people think, oh, okay, I'm being triggered, so I'm going to make somebody else happy and that's going to make me happy. Like I disappointed my son, so I'm going to do something for him so he's not disappointed in me. It's like, stop. You're getting triggered because you're tired. You have to keep going, like you were talking about those three things, dig deeper. You're just tired. You have to understand that you have pleasure in laying on your bed in the middle of the day for 15 minutes or sitting with a cup of tea without your phone. You have to also have some inventory about what brings me pleasure so that you could bring yourself back to the middle, you know?
and that's actually really interesting, isn't it? Because so many of us actually do not give ourselves permission to choose ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We are taught through society that
Mm-hmm.
to always put others first. And this is actually becoming quite mainstream now, isn't it? It is not selfish to put yourself first, especially for women, because classically we are the caregivers, through children, elderly parents, and all the rest of it. We are the people. We are the ones that hold it all together. We carry the emotional intelligence and emotional well-being of the entire family.
Yeah.
And so we're always putting them first. And so historically, for women to go, no, actually, I'm going to have 15 minutes crashed on the bed to regroup, meditate, power nap, call it what you like.
Yeah. It's
actually a game changer. But so many women actually cannot give themselves permission to do that. And it is changed. The tide is changing slowly, but I do find that quite incredible. That, but I also find myself falling into that same trap, even though I've been doing that particular type of work probably about 5 or 10 years. I still find myself falling into that trap of overgiving, and then going, reel it back, boundaries, no.
I totally agree. And it's okay to scream. It's okay to just say, I'm going to remove myself from the situation, get into the car, go on the motorway and listen to music so loud and just scream. Because I feel like we also are, you can't think your way out of anger. Anger is a vibration in your body, and you need to get it out. You need to process it in a physical way, not just in a mental way. So when you're angry, make sure that there's room for, scream into your pillow, go outside for a walk, do jumping jacks, do something to process all of the hormones and chemistry that were released when you got angry. And then you can choose your next step. If you don't feel like you can choose your next step, if you're so triggered that you can just like, oh, I'm just going to say something I'm going to regret later, like turn your ship around, go somewhere where you're not going to do some damage, get your own chemistry back together, and then choose. And it's so important, because just that awareness is one thing, but then it's like, okay, now what are you going to do about it? How are you going to handle it? You're not just going to get to the end of the plank and say, well, that's it. I'm triggered. I'm aware. People also move into that space where, well, you triggered me. Excuse me, you're in charge of your own nervous system. I'm just being myself. You need to work on yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, well, now that I'm triggered, now that I'm aware, what do I do? Take the next step. Deal with your own chemistry, your own trigger, your own awareness. Why does that trigger me? It's always a good thing to ask. Get curious. Why am I so triggered about this?
Yeah, there's some kind of memory there that triggers it. There's something that's good, because I didn't know this about anger until we did your writing class on Friday night, actually, which is amazing, by the way. I do want to come around to that in a minute. So we're going to go really jump about a bit. Now, I didn't realise until you were talking about anger, because we were talking about emotions in the writing class on Friday night. And I didn't realise that anger, because it's not an emotion that I have a lot of interaction with, but it actually, until like you just said, it actually it sets off a whole chemical thing in the body. Yep. And if you don't release it, it almost sort of just sits there seething quietly.
It does.
Because when you said about this, I went, oh my God, that is so true. Because you can feel it coursing through your veins, can't you? Because you can remember emotions. You can feel having like this muscle memory for emotions.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is why people actually explode and do crazy things, because they haven't removed themselves from the situation to release that anger in a more productive way.
Yeah.
And once they've done that and they've come off the ceiling, they can then come back to that more balanced state to deal with whatever set them off in the first place.
Yeah. That's where we want to be as emotionally mature people. We want to choose our reaction. We don't want to have we don't want to hurt someone's feelings. We don't want to be in that place. And it's true. It's especially true of anger, because anger is created in your liver. Your liver has three lobes and it goes across the midline. People underestimate how large the liver is, but it is enormous. If you look up anatomy and things like that, and you look at the torso, the liver is from the side of your ribs all the way, crosses the sternum and starts to come over a little bit, and it is responsible for creating blood cells. So your liver is the one that puts together the blood cells. It takes out the iron, says, okay, we're done with that blood cell, gets a new blood cell, puts in the iron so that it can attach chemically to oxygen, flow around your body, give up the oxygen, take on the carbon dioxide, take it back, circulate it into the lungs so you can breathe out your carbon dioxide.
Ah.
It's also where you detoxify, meaning where you break down things. So the act of moving a piece of meat, for example, into your body and breaking it into protein molecules so you can actually do something with that. That's something that happens as part of the process with the liver, bile into your stomach. It's breaking it down over and over and over. But it's also for medication. If you put medication in your body, it's up to the liver to figure out what is in there to release the right chemicals to break it apart so that it can flow into your bloodstream. So I say all that to say it's very much connected to your blood. When you get angry, your liver creates that vibration. Every organ has a vibration, and you can look this up with Chinese medicine. What is the emotion connected to each organ? But for the liver, it's anger. So if you're talking about this giant organ responsible for creating blood cells, for detoxifying things that come into your body, including alcohol, and you make that vibrate at a high, angry, hot level, of course you're going to feel it in your body. And of course it's going to release cortisol, adrenaline, all of the stress hormones, because now your body has to decide, do I stay and fight or do I leave? And if you're angry, interestingly enough, you've decided you're going to fight.
Yeah.
And that's
This
a
is
different
true.
place. That's a different place to be. That's sort of the end of survival. You are cornered. You have no way out. You can't feel a way out. And that doesn't need to be physical. It could be social. There could be a social situation that causes you to feel boxed in or cornered, and it will give you the same reaction, which I think is interesting. That's very much a modern problem. It's not a real problem. We are not being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. We are not actually in real danger, but we think we are because of some social situation.
And it's interesting, isn't it, how we've held on to those old stories from our brain. We've evolution has come so far, and yet our brain is still set in the old caveman. Our brains haven't evolved at the same rate, is it? And they're holding on to that really old programming of safety from the saber-toothed tiger.
Absolutely, yeah. It's all about safety because we want to survive. At our base level is survive, whether it's survive in my tribe, survive socially, survive physically. I have to survive this moment some way, somehow. And until you sit with other people and you have a place where you are supported to work through all of these things, it doesn't necessarily, there's no real easy time to work on it. It's really better to do it in a group or like at a retreat. And that's part of what we're doing is we're giving everybody a place to be at our retreat this September. Well, the ladies, to be clear, because when we come together in circle, as we are gathering our energy, the ladies will be gathering together. And this is one of the things we're going to talk about because there's a lot of power in awareness and choice and understanding and techniques. I'm angry. What do I do? Oh, you're talking to two people that are pros at helping people process their emotions. Lots of things to do.
Absolutely. And did we settle on name? Was it Ignite Your Fire? Is that what we settled on in the end? Was it?
Yes. And fire is great because it's transformation. People get scared about fire, just like they get scared about shadow work, but you're transforming it. You're not actually destroying it. You're taking whatever it is, transforming it, allowing the emotion, the heat to dissipate, and then sending it back up to spirit, life, the universe, and allowing it to come back to you in a more productive, harmless, a new lesson.
Absolutely. So I think we've called it Ignite Your Fire and Align with Your Heart, isn't it? That's the full title.
Yes.
I'm actually really looking forward to this, and the property that we settled on is, and I didn't realize it until you said, even though I found it. It's a 1,000-year-old house, isn't it? It's a Quaker retreat center.
Yeah, I was looking at it. It's absolutely adorable. And I love the fact that it's a series of cottages, so we'll all come together. I love the fact that everybody has their own room. That's rare, I think, for retreats, at least in the States. I love that everybody has their own room. I love that there's little cottages. And so, it's just a matter of scaling. If we get more than the 12 people, we could think about adding on. But I like the fact that there's room for us to be there, and then it's so cozy. It feels like a little settlement. I think it'll be easy for us to imagine us being there 800 years ago, all meeting up, deciding that we're going to spend this time together. We're going to collect our experiences. We're going to share, well, what do you do when you get triggered? Or what do you do when this happens? I have this situation, or things like that. Because only in that safe sharing space do you really understand that power of the collective, and that common, the wisdom that comes when we all share it, which is what we're designed to do. I mean, coming together in a circle is what we're here for.
We are social beings, aren't we? We are tribal people, whatever setting we come from. And I'm really looking forward to this. And we are going to be diving into shadow work, of course we are, but we're also going to be coming into your heart's desires and alignment. So it's going to be a completeness, isn't it, to this whole 4 days. And we've got 12 places available at the moment. Well, I think we sold 4, haven't we? So we've got actually 8 available. And depending on what happens, we may have some wiggle room to take on a couple of extras, but that's going to be down to what the retreat has available at the time, if we get to those numbers. But yeah, absolutely.
And
so
we'll do website. It'll probably be on both of our websites.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to get up onto mine this week. And with all the payment stuff which is available and everything else. So I'm actually really looking forward to this.
What was the final payment? I remember what it's like in dollars. What was it in pounds?
Oh, so pounds. So early bird is I think we settled at £875 sterling. That's before the 15th. Did we say the 15th of April 2024?
Yes.
And then after that it went up to 975, didn't it? Yeah, and it's fully inclusive. That's all the workshops, that's all the accommodation, that's all the food, that's everything. The only thing we don't pay for is your transportation to and from the retreat venue. But I suppose you're coming from overseas, and things, we can tell you sort of airports to get to, the nearest airports and that kind of thing. We can advise on all that kind of stuff if you're coming in from overseas. It's in Oxfordshire, so it's really easy links, rail links, major trunk roads, motorways, and all the major routes. So it's easy from it's easy access from Oxford as well. So where we are in the country, you can come in from London, you can come from the Midlands, you can come from the West, and you can come from the South. So that's why we sort of chose that area, because it's so central in the UK. So it's really easy access as well.
I'm so excited about it.
So apart from doing obviously retreats and things and whatever, what I want to talk about with you, because I have experienced this firsthand, is your phenomenal breath work. I've done a lot of breath work, Caroline's version of breath work, through meditation and yoga and stuff like that. You take that to a completely different level, and a friend of mine is, so I did that, we did that with you last September, October, wasn't it?
Oh, sorry, October. Mm-hmm.
And
In Twyford.
say again.
It was in the Twyford Community Center.
That's right, we did. A friend of mine is still, is still processing what took place that day. And when you said at the beginning, oh, actually, you know, you'll just stop breathing, I went, yeah, right. I will not be stopping breathing, my love. I'm sorry. Hello. I just stopped breathing. It's like, and I remember thinking, holy, I'm not inhaling. I'm not exhaling. I'm not gasping for breath.
Don't need to. No, you're on your journey.
The hell?
So it's holotropic breathing, which is in through your nose and out through your mouth in a circle. So you think about it as in through your nose, out through your mouth, completing the circle. There's no pause. This was a technique that was pioneered by Stanislav Grof, the psychonaut, he used to call himself. And it was in his work in the 1960s in the States where he was studying how can I recreate the feeling of basically acid and psychotropic experiences with breath. And so he studied indigenous cultures, he studied anatomy, he studied different things, and this is what he came up with. And then my teacher studied with him, and that's why that's part of my lineage, part of the teaching from her. Now, if you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth in a circle, in that circular breathing, and nothing happens, it's because it's not the whole ceremony. There is a hefty amount of magic. I'm setting the intention, I'm setting the container, I'm expanding my energy into the group and holding your aura, your energy, your physical body, whatever feels easier for you to take in a safe place. And your body can feel that because I've spent 14 years as a medical massage therapist and I can feel people's bodies. So what I do is I keep talking into the circle until I can feel every one of the bodies relax and start to move into that parasympathetic breathing, that rest and digest and have a good cry. It turns out, another fun fact, your lacrimal gland right here at your tear duct will not release the chemical in order for you to cry if you're in a sympathetic nervous system state, meaning if you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, you don't cry. You also don't digest food. When you get to safety, parasympathetic kicks in and then you cry. If you don't feel safe, you can't cry. So I gather up the energy and I talk to people about intention, altar of your heart, and things like this. And I'm feeling into the group. And when the group is all connected and all relaxed, that's when I have everybody on their mat and start breathing and drumming everybody, the heartbeat. It's a very much of a Mother Earth and heartbeat drum, and guide you into your journey. And then the music kicks in. So I have this wonderful music, many playlists for different intentions, different work, and you get to ride the music into your journey. And I'm there. So I come over, I do physical assistance. I'll put my hands on your collarbone or on your head or wherever your body is feeling like it needs a little bit of support. Go around the circle, feel into the energy, check in with everybody as many times as they need. If they need to sit up, help them sit up. If they need to cry, if they need to scream, walk them through that, guide them through that, give them permission to do it. And everybody says, I don't scream. But I will tell you from firsthand experience, you can, and you do, if you're safe, guided, and someone's doing it with you. I never let people scream alone. I always say, do you want to hum? Do you want to give it a sound? Do you want to soften your jaw? Do you want to open your mouth? Do you want to scream? And then I put my mouth next to their ear, but pointed away. And then we do that, ah, and it carries them up as high and long as they want to go. And because you're releasing that energy, whatever that was, it doesn't matter if it was an old trauma, old story, even if you can't name it, there's something that was stuck inside of you. And by getting it out, now you have room for that unconditional love, that source love. You've got room to feel your body in a truly relaxed way, and everything feels even. Instead of the shoulders are here, the neck is here, and everything is clenched, suddenly you feel very open. Your heart is open, you're flowing. And that's when you can ask questions. What should I do next? Where should I go? And most people are not in a place to ask questions because they're going on this incredible journey and they're in a different place and a different time and different wild things. So we do all that, and then I drum everybody back in, give you time to process with writing, with drawing, because some people like to draw, some people like to write. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but just get it out on paper from subconscious into the conscious world where you can see it and look at it. And then we have a share circle. So we drink cacao, which brings in all of the chemicals you need for the parasympathetic hormones, serotonin, dopamine, the settled, happy, relaxed hormones, and we process. And we are going to be doing that at the retreat. So if that sounds like you can't possibly say, no, I need to have that in my life, there's 8 spaces left. Come on in. It's going to be really fun.
Fabulous. And I think that sort of sums us up. I don't think there's anything else I've got question-wise or want to ask you.
No, I would just say if you want to look up, if you want to look anything as far as videos or services or anything, it's very easy. You can find me at atlantiswolf.com. Everything is there. Everything is on my website. So
Perfect.
if you have any follow-up questions, and we're both doing some dragon meditations. I'm doing a free monthly dragon meditation, and I know you're doing. I think is it a monthly meditation or is there a dragon component to it?
No, it's just a monthly meditation at the moment. It'll
There
be
you go.
whatever comes into that.
Yeah. So we're both doing that. So you can look for either or both. I'm going to Caroline's. So I mean, see what calls to you. But both of us are very available, and both of us have a lot of ways, one-on-one, group work, retreat work. So there's lots of ways you can interact with both of us.
Fabulous. So have you got a Facebook page?
Yeah, but I'm really more on Instagram. So
Okay.
I
What's your
steer
Instagram
people
handle?
to Instagram, which is Dragon Medicine Woman on Instagram. And there's only one. It's very easy to find.
So what we'll do is we'll put all the links below. So you really know where to get hold of Atlantis, the website links, Instagram and everything else. We'll stick all that below the links for you, along with a link to the retreat as well. That'll all go in there.
And that's September
any
23rd.
Questions?
In case we didn't say it, September 23rd is the retreat.
Oh yeah, September 2020. September 2024.
But it's on, I think it starts on September 23rd.
Oh, sorry. Yes. So it's the 23rd to 27th of September 2024. So yeah. I thought you were saying September 23. I think, no, darling, that's last year.
That would be interesting.
Yeah. So do you work online at all, or do you only work in person?
I do. Yeah, I do emotional release online. I do group healing online. I do group calls online. Someone did ask me if I do breath work online. It's not my favorite. I really do prefer to do that in person. So I know people that do it online. I'm not really called to do that, but most of the things that I do can be set up for an online appointment as well.
Yeah. Excellent. So for those that aren't, in and around Cleveland, in Ohio, can find you online. But if you want to do breath work, you've got to come to the retreat.
Sorry, not sorry. And it's possible, because I'll already be in England, there's a possibility I'm playing with about having just a breathwork event maybe that Sunday when the retreat's done, we may find a place just to do a breath work in case people can't afford or don't want to do the whole retreat and they just want to do a breath work. We might do that as well. So just keep posted, keep a look on our websites for that.
We can do that. That's easy to set up.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. As always, it is lovely to talk to you. And I will see you Friday night.
Absolutely.
So thank you for joining me on the Chatty Ramble. I thank you to my guest, Atlantis Wolf. And I will see you all in the next episode. Big love from here.